Oh, so we are halfway through our month on wholeness, where we are claiming that we are whole no matter what. And I thought, since we're halfway through, I better touch on what the heck we mean about that. Like, that's quite, what do you mean whole no matter what? If my ankle's broken or, I can't get up, am I whole, Leslie? What's happening? And that is when it is a helpful thing to, I'm just going to make sure I stay whole by not falling on that pen. This is where it's important to remember that in science of mind, when we're talking wholeness, we are talking about a divine quality, not a state of being. So this isn't something that we come in and out of. This is something that is true all the time. And why is it true? Because, going back to Maureen's point earlier, if the divine is all there is, and it made everything out of its own substance, which is inherently whole, then everything it makes has to be whole. Just like if I make something out of plastic, it's going to have the same qualities of the plastic material. So if we are part of that which is created, which we have to be because there isn't anything else, God is all there is, then that wholeness is built into us in the fullest capacity of the divine. Now, does that mean we are 100% every moment experiencing that wholeness? Tragically, no. We do have the ability to ignore the truth sometimes. Maybe just me. I feel like maybe one or two other people have, at times, maybe ignored something that might be true. And so when we are digging into this idea of wholeness, it's important to remember that this is an unbreakable, unchangeable, unlosable, unearnable, and therefore unscrew-upable quality of who we are. That's a sacred phrase, Reverend Jeff, unscrew-upable. It's from the great texts of old. And so today, we're going to talk about what we believe about wholeness and how it shows up. And specifically, we're going to talk about how it shows up in community. Because we believe in wholeness, right? To the depth of our core, to the wholeness of our mind, 100% of the time, with no moments of confusion, and no woundedness ever interrupting that pure flow, right? We do when we do, and sometimes we forget. And it's okay that we forget. To forget is human, but to choose to remember again is divine. And that's what we've been called to do. See, a consciousness of wholeness is required for a sense of belonging, to build a community of belonging. Digging into this idea of wholeness is a required element. We simply cannot have one without the other. Now, you might be wondering quite how I'm going to get there, because those feel like different topics, right? But let's start at the beginning. So I've recently been reading this book, What It Takes to Heal, by Prentice Hemphill. And he said this: "Times are turbulent and unpredictable. No matter our affiliation or perspective, if we look soberly around, we can't help but see that the world is on the brink. We're exhausted, anxious, and agitated. Many of us have narrowed our visions and turned to protecting those we define as our own we, reining in our ideas of who matters and who is deserving of care." Now, it is not hard for me to take that quote and relate it to the world right now. But we could take that quote and relate it to any time, in any place. I remember the summer of, I think it must have been 82, the summer of 82, Des Moines, Iowa. There was a war between my father and the weeds in the backyard. Now, I'm remembering this because I have been watching The New Little House on the Prairie. Anybody been watching The New Little House on the Prairie? I love it, loving it. And, they were walking in the tall prairies. Like, that's where I'm from, on the banks of Plum Creek. That's Plum Creek, Iowa. tall as her hand as she walks. Of course, they were as tall as my hand when I walked when I was 7. And she brushed past this beautiful tall prairie grass with the seeds that look just like wheat, don't they? And I remembered I was reading Little House on the Prairie when I was that age. And sometimes I would play in the backyard that the locusts were coming, and I had to gather all the wheat before the harvest was ruined, and I would strip those seeds off every single grass in my backyard, and they would get scattered, and that's why my dad never did win that war. There's always something that can get us. If we're in the mood to have an enemy, we can even make an enemy out of the grasses in our own backyard and the playthings of our own children. But when we are exhausted, 3 young daughters, we were not quiet, gentle creatures, agitated, I'm sure that we were also expensive and loud, anxious. We can pull our idea of who us is so narrow that even our own backyard is them. And when that happens, we start making us, we, valuable, meaningful, important, and them less. So we teach oneness here at the New Vision Center, the idea that there is truly only one, that just as Maureen said, that the divine is all that there is, and we are all a part of it. There is only one. And oneness and this idea of division cannot coexist. So as long as there is an idea of them, those people, that problem, we're cutting ourselves off from this idea of oneness. And in order to be a place of belonging in our own hearts and in our center, we need to start thinking about who matters. Who matters? And that involves confronting our own individual notions of who is valuable and who is not. Our individual and cultural biases of the other. So this is kind of a big topic, so let's just take a nice deep breath together. This talk will be big, but it will not be scary. I am not here to tell you you're doing it wrong. I'm here to invite you into a deeper walk. As that poem we keep citing says, this will be our brave space together. We will not do it perfectly, but we will do it bravely together. So what interferes with building this sense of belonging? Prentice had another quote. He said, "To belong is rest into the collective, to be woven into the all. It's the feeling that what you bring is needed and wanted here." Feel into that. See if you can connect with the time you felt that here that caused you to say that this wasn't just a place you were trying out or a YouTube channel you clicked on once, but was going to become your spiritual home. I'm willing to bet something was said that made you feel like who I am is okay here. Who I am is wanted here. I know that that's what happened with me. I was not at all sure when I showed up here that they were ready for this mouth. Sometimes we still wonder. And yet, it was safe enough for me to be myself enough that here I still am, 19 years later. And there are many people in this room and online who have been with this center from the moment it was birthed into an idea. Because we take this idea of belonging seriously. And we always need to be striving to go deeper into it. See, when we divide the world into us and them, even when it's who is NBC, ooh, and then there's everybody else, right? Every time we parcel people into groups, there's a truth that we ascribe positive values and attributes to the us. I mean, we're awesome, right? We've met us. We're delightful. And sometimes we ascribe maybe less positive attributes to the them. And it makes sense, because for somebody to end up in our us, in our we, odds are they mostly think like we do. They like the things we do. They talk the way we do. Maybe they dress the way we do. They feel the same way about the divine that we do. They're basing their life on the same basic principles that we are, generally. Sometimes we have a hobby in common. Think about how the we's got into your world. You met them at gardening club or the knit shop, or you went to college together, or you root for the same team that better not be the Lakers. I have a personal problem with the Lakers. They are my them. I'm working on it. What it really comes down to is comfort. We feel safer where it's comfortable. And as I've had these conversations over many years and in many rooms and in multiple centers, I have run up against the same phrase by dozens and dozens of people. I get nervous around diversity because what if I say it wrong? What if I do it wrong? What if I offend someone? I want to be loving and open, but I don't know how, and it scares me, and so I tend to shrink away. Now, let's take a moment and remember that diversity is not something that we need to go searching for. Diversity is a biological fact. Stand in any garden and look around, and you will see that the universe is populated with every kind of everything. And we look around even in this room, even in this community, and we see a diversity of age, a diversity of gender, a diversity of sexuality, a diversity of family, a diversity of lifestyle choice, a diversity of education, a diversity of place of origin, a family of origin, of religion of origin, a diversity of interest. I have been informed recently that not everyone is as enamored as I am with Taylor Swift. I cannot imagine how that could be so, but it is true. It is true. Diversity is a biological fact. And we think that only hanging around where we're comfortable protects us. Protects us from discomfort. It protects us from danger, often made up. We may even think it protects us from death. We don't think this thought out loud, but the thing is, human brains are built to escape tigers. Those saber-toothed tigers that either were or were not chasing early humans, depending on which anthropologist you're listening to that week. And we can't tell the difference between not sure what to say in a meeting and, oh my God, I'm going to die. Our stress reaction is the same, which is why we take so many darn breaths during these messages. Because once the fear comes up, oh my God, I'm going to die. I mean, the teenagers even actually say this, RIP, died, I'm dead, put me in a coffin. And that's because, like, a boy looked at them weird. It's important, though, to realize that what we believe about wholeness, we think we're honing it in on one little area where we're uncomfortable, but it shakes out to every way we show up. Every way we show up. And it limits us in who we can be. Not just as to loving people, to those people that we're maybe a little bit unsure of because we don't want to screw up, but it limits our ability to be fully loving, period. So I'm going to walk you through an example of this in the least scary example I could come up with. So another big breath. I decided to go with the one that I am the personal lived expert in. Seems a little bit less scary, but we're going to talk about ableism. So ableism is a fear or a belief that someone is less than fully whole who has something physically, mentally, or emotionally different about them. Whether they have chronic illness or limb difference or neurodivergence, whether they have cancer or shingles or a cold right now or mental illness. It's a huge, huge, huge category of things. And I would not be surprised if minds out in the new visionosphere aren't thinking, well, but isn't it better to be healthy? That's not a bias. It's better to be healthy than it is to be sick. It's better to be pain-free than it is to be hurt, right? That's just true. And that's where it gets you. That's where it gets you. Because the first thought is always rational. The first thought is always reasonable. But what is the belief underneath? So let's break a couple of them down. Resisting a mobility aid when you've been told you need one for your own safety. It's not cute. I'm gonna look old. Or celebrating vocally the retirement of a mobility aid if someone doesn't need it that week. Oh, it's so much better that you're better. Having just gone through a round of losing people in my life to refusing to use their cane and falling and needing a surgery to fix the injury and having a stroke during surgery and never really waking up. I don't want to use a cane. It's not cute. Feels reasonable, doesn't it? But it can take us to this place. Is it rooted in the belief that only 100% full health is acceptable and worthy? Or that only youth is acceptable and worthy? And if that belief is in there, what else is that impacting? Here's one that comes from the warmest, most beautiful place imaginable. Giving advice to your friends who are going through a medical challenge. Have you tried yoga, essential oils, celery juice? Have you gone to a functional medicine doctor, chiropractor, acupuncturist, stretch guru? Have you taken this medicine that my dog groomer's aunt took and it cured her of your incurable illness? Of course it's coming from wanting to be of help and of service. Of course it is. And underneath there is a really insidious little belief there. And there's an easy answer, and you just haven't tried. Oh, but there's a darker one under that. And it is, see, I do the right things, so I am well. And you don't. So you deserve what's happening to you. Ooh. And you know the really hard thing about it is, that's what they hear. I did try the celery juice. I'm not a fan. Didn't cure me. What a bummer. But what I heard was, we will be more comfortable with you as our minister if you are healthier. And you know what it caused me to do? Tell you less, hide more, pretend. You know what it causes all the time in this community? People who won't come to church when they're sick, when they have cancer, when they need that cane, because they don't want to be seen as someone who is doing it wrong. Breathe. Breathe. So here's one that's happened to me recently about 43 times. Take care of yourself so you don't get sick. They say that to me because I have an illness that goes in flares, right? Get a flare, the flare goes away. You get a flare, the flare goes away. There are some things that I know for sure can bring on a flare. Too much stress, working past my limit. We know this. We've talked about this, right? This is not new news to anybody who's been here more than 3 Sundays. And flares just happen sometimes. Autoimmune is weird. We don't know. They don't know. The doctors don't know. Nobody knows. But underneath that, if we go deep enough, is the belief that illness is a moral failing. Because if I was taking care of myself right, I wouldn't have a flare. Now, everybody in this room who said that to me in the last 3 months, immediately forgive yourself. Immediately forgive yourself. Because I know you meant I love you. But I've done a lot of therapy to know that you mean I love you. And not everybody can hear that, right? What we believe about wholeness causes us to build walls between ourselves and the very people that we are choosing to love. The fantastic news is there is a shortcut. There is a shortcut, and it is deciding that every single person is whole no matter what. No matter what we seem to see going on with their body, they are spiritually whole. No matter how their brain works, they are whole. No matter what mental illness they might be experiencing, they are whole. They are whole because that is a divine truth of them. And they will walk out this thing called life in a billion, million different ways that may seem wildly unbelievable to you from the way you live out your life with the body and the brain and the experiences that you have. But diversity is a biological fact. Illnesses and injuries and differences are not problems to fix. They're adventures for individual humans to go on and opportunities for us to love them through those adventures. And this story isn't different if we're talking about race or socioeconomic class or sexuality or gender expression or any of the bajillion other ways we could talk about the ways we make a them and an us. It's just the least scary one I could toss at you today. And hopefully the one that you could be the most open to hear. Belonging, real belonging, when we're anchored in wholeness, means celebrating our uniqueness. Ernest Holmes said unity does not mean uniformity. It says that we are individually expressions of the divine. He called it individualized expressions of the divine. Well, if we were all going to be the same, what's the heck point of having us even exist? And we're not only going to differ in our preference in pop music. Sometimes we're going to differ in body size. Sometimes we're going to differ in our state of mental acuity. My dad's still whole. Don't know that he knows it most of the time right now, but he knows he loves babies, which is good news when we've got grandbabies falling out of the sky lately. So we have an opportunity to do something that Prentice Hemphill called bridging. So bridging is when we reject the us-them thinking entirely. We catch ourselves in it, and we say, nope, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. And we seek out ways to release or to shift the way we're showing up when an us-them situation comes up. An example, you walk into the social hall, and there's a table of people talking loudly about their political preferences, and they mean it, man. They mean it. And you hear them say, and all the people who think fill in the blank other thing, how do they even go to this center? What are they? They're not like us. Oh, the tendency, we take a breath, we step away. Maybe that's not my table, but I'm not going to step in. Or we have the opportunity to take a deep breath, to step in, and if it were me, you guys can probably picture this as I do it, put one hand on the table and say, Mm-mm. Mm-mm. We're not doing that here. You don't know who's hearing you. Think about what you're saying. And if you're me, they all look at you like this. And I get at least one email later. And isn't that what our teaching is calling us to? To notice when it's uncomfortable, whether it's in our own head, in our own house, in our own community, anywhere where we are gathered. When we find that someone, part of our community or not, is being othered, to be the voice of, I don't think that's what Ernest said. I saw a t-shirt recently, it had Jesus, and it said, dudes, that is not what I said. I might need an Ernie one. It's not about being right. It's not about proving yourself right. It's not even about proving them right. It's about listening and being open. Everyone of every opinion is whole. There isn't anything else to be. When we act like that, we create a place of belonging. And so, my beloveds, seeing the humanity in all people is our invitation this week to notice what's going on. We'll start inside our own brains. It's the easiest place to start. When an us-them kind of thought wanders through, to catch yourself and choose a bridging thought instead. If it comes out of your mouth, to choose a bridging word instead. When you hear those people are my people. All people are my people. To find the place where we're more alike than we are different, because I promise that we are. And so it is. So let's anchor this in with some prayer. How good it is to turn our attention to that which is always true, always empowered, always whole, always good, that is the all-loving, within which there is every path, every answer, every possibility, every potentiality. This one that I call the divine, sweet spirit that answers to every name and no name at all. That is right here, right now. And I know this to be true because it's here as me and as everyone within the sound of my voice. Because it made each one whole and perfect and complete out of its own substance that is inherently good, inherently creative, inherently powerful. And so what I know is that whatever got brought into this room, whatever pain, whatever anxiety, whatever confusion, whatever sense of separation, that it is being healed right now by the very spirit that we carry within us. That just breathing into the knowingness that where we are, spirit is. There is no lack of abundance, no physical ailment, no broken heart, no frustration or confusion or fear or anxiety that is bigger than the God that we talk about, that we love, that we are. This is the truth. And I'm grateful to know it and to stand in the knowingness for each one. And so I simply let it be released into the action of universal law and let it do what it does, which is heal the world. And so it is.